And as voters decide who to support in Brazil, let's get deeper into the election. We're joined live here in Washington by Harold Trinkunas at the Brookings Institute. He's chair of the Latin America Initiative. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
You know, we've touched on healthcare, the economy, crime, but we really haven't talked yet about corruption in the state-owned energy company Petrobras. Boil this down for us. So what do voters really care about this time around?
Well, it's been interesting. I think there was an expectation that when the corruption scandal first broke, it really would affect the image and the public standing of the president, Dilma Rousseff, who had been associated with the state energy enterprise in the past. However, she seems to have gotten past that scandal pretty quickly, and in the campaign leading up to the elections this Sunday, she's been able to use the time she has on television to really go after her opponents and to make the case that she's the safer choice for Brazilian voters.
This really seems to be shaping up to be a two-person race. Again, you said that she overcame that scandal pretty quickly. We have a graphic here showing the probability of victory for the leading candidates. Throughout much of August and September, Marina Silva was actually more likely to win according to opinion polls. But then in the middle of September, just a few weeks ago, Rousseff pulled ahead. So what changed? Because she was very unpopular right before and right after the World Cup.
No, I think what has happened is, first of all, the way that Brazil's campaign regulations work assign television time to candidates according to their standing in the previous election. And obviously, President Rousseff, having won the last elections, has the most time to advertise on television, to advertise her achievements, and to criticize her opponents. And by contrast, Marina Silva, representing what was quite a small party in the last elections, has only, I think, maybe 2 minutes, in contrast to the president's 11 minutes, to really make her case every day. So on the tactical level, I think the president's team just has more time and more resources to make their case. I also think that, in part, Marina Silva's rapid ascent in August and early September had a bit of both a sympathy vote because of the death of the previous candidate for her party, Eduardo Campos, and the novelty of her campaign. Now that voters have become more familiar with her, in fact, thanks in part to attacks from her opponents, some of the novelties worn off, and so the President Rousseff's attacks on her have really begun to tell.
Do you think, though, Brazilians are really just comfortable? They know Dilma Rousseff. They know what they're getting with her. Do you think they're more likely to vote for her versus taking a chance on someone else?
Well, I think what the President Rousseff really has going for her is the remarkable set of achievements on poverty reduction and growing the middle class. She has been able to make the case to voters that she's the safer candidate to manage the economy and retain those gains. On the other side, her opponents, particularly Marina Silva, are making the case that they can do a better job of taking Brazil to the next stage, of achieving government that is less corrupt, more effective at delivering public services, and produces better schools, better security outcomes, things that middle-class voters really want.
Well, and let's not look past the fact that we're talking about two women here. They're the front runners in this Brazil presidential election. How significant is it in a culture that is sometimes associated with all about being machismo?
It's actually quite remarkable. I spent 3 weeks in Brazil last month, and I actually found that the fact that two women were the front runners was not really remarked on by most persons I talked to. Both women have remarkable life stories. They both came to the leadership of their parties, to their political movements, with very solid but different positions on a range of policy issues, and that really seems to be what people are most interested in. So it's really quite interesting that, despite the fact that it is remarkable that two women are the leading candidates for the presidency of Brazil, people seem to be focused on other issues.
So what do you see happening on Sunday? Do you think this will go to a runoff?
I think the probability is still that it'll go to the runoff. However, some of the most recent polls do show the president pulling quite far ahead. So I think the way the best guess is still that there will be a runoff, probably between Dilma Rousseff and Marina Silva, but there's a lot of movement in these last few days, so that's not quite as certain an outcome as it seemed even a week ago.
All right, Harold Trinkunas at the Brookings Institute, thank you so much for your insight.